Hey, I'm Evan.
I'm Mike.
Welcome to USS Sea Stories.
The broken and falling, damned old souls been sent to burn. Nowadays they've been calling, telling me soon gonna be my turn. Head down.
All right, guys, welcome back to USS Sea Stories. I'm Evan. That's Mike, and this is our guest, Mike Dunn. Mike Dunn, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a great opportunity to be here. Real blessed.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's good having you on here. You emailed us and written some comments on our channel a couple times asking to come on board, and it's great having you, especially since you're pretty brand new to the Navy, so we can get your perspective now. We've had some guys from the 90s, and then Mike and I are from the mid 2010s, maybe earlier in that. So it's kind of nice to have a new guy's perspective and stuff like that. Yeah. So, Mike, how about you start us out, man?
Yeah, so tell us a little about yourself, man. Give a little background about yourself, man.
All right. So graduated high school 2019. Eyes were set on college, a lot like a lot of my friends from high school. I had a opportunity to play college soccer, and I was real close to taking that opportunity. I was also playing some semi-professional soccer back home in South Texas. Had some personal, recollections, things that happened to me in my life, and I decided to make a change for the better. I had, friends and some of the older parts of my family in the military. I thought, might as well fix myself in the right way if I'm going to do it. So here I am.
Cool, man. So you said you're from South Texas. What part of Texas?
South Houston area.
Texas, stand up, baby.
You fucking Texas guys, man.
Texas, stand up.
All right, so let's fast forward a bit. So you decided to join the Navy. Was Navy your first choice? How'd you get into, like, hey, I want to get into the Navy, and how did you segue into submarines after that?
Okay, so great question. So my the original, first time I decided, I should probably join the military, I started looking online through all the different branches websites, and I couldn't really decide which one would fit me better. There were different jobs in each branch, even the Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, I'd do good in that. I kind of like doing that. I like watching movies about that and shit like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty early in the morning whenever I went to the recruiting depot, and they had all the branches lined up right next to each other. The Navy was just the one that I parked in front of. So I said, hell with it. I'll just walk in there and see what they have to say. There's such a big stigma about recruiters always trying to BS you, always trying to get you to sign the dotted line today or tomorrow. But the recruiters that I had, they were real cool. It's almost like, you really did have to go to them first, and you had to know what you wanted. Otherwise, go next door to the Army or something.
Right.
So I was pretty fortunate with guys that were there to help me for the better.
Mm-hmm. So when so you got there in the recruiting office, did you have submarines in mind when you got there? And then what did you have in mind as a rate, like as a job, for people that don't know? Like what would you have in mind, or did you just take the test and like they gave it to you?
So I took the PICAT right then and there. I sat down. It probably took me 45 minutes. I was told that's really fast. I don't know. I got my results back a few minutes later. They said, okay, you got a 73. Basically a 73 on the ASVAB. It's pretty equivalent. They said, you're pretty much open to everything except nuke, which I didn't want to do in the first place from, YouTube videos.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Yeah. So originally I wanted to do air rescue.
Right on. Yeah.
In the back of my mind. So I knew the process for that wasn't going to be easy. I had to go through all the tryouts and things like that. My recruiter, he had mentioned the SECF pipeline. He said this is I think it's opening. I'm not too sure. We'll have to, go to MEPS and find out. He explained it very vaguely to me, but I said, that might be a good fallback. So got to MEPS, and at the point, wherever I was, like the day to sign your contract basically was at the end of some term. So they only had limited contracts available. I did qualify for all of those jobs. I didn't need any waivers, but they just had a select amount of contracts available. So I said, shit, I hope I make it to air rescue. If I don't, whatever. So I signed for aviation bosun's mate. And yeah, so the SECF was always in the back of my mind. I consistently asked my recruiters, is there an opening yet for that? Is there an opening yet for that? Reasoning for that was, you may have been in Galveston, Texas. There's a Seawolf Park, and the old World War II submarine USS Kabbalah is parked over there. And I grew up touring that with my family for uncles' birthdays or cousins' birthdays, and for some reason it always just had like a little bit of a draw to me, just the mysterious lifestyle, the tight bonds that you can. It's almost like you can feel them whenever you step foot in a enclosed area like that. So
it's crazy you'd say that, dude. Like there's things you find out about the submarine force that you never knew about and stuff like that. Like for instance, I never knew, like my dad, when I grew up, my dad was a mailman, right? Very blue collar, worked hard, made his cheddar and came home, put me through school kind of thing. But what I didn't know is he was, before he had a family, he was a contractor and he used to help build submarines. Yeah, I never knew that until after I was on submarines. And then I just recently found out that one of my great uncles in Connecticut, he used to run a ancient like submarine museum. Like, he'd bring like relics and shit like that and pictures or whatever the fuck. He ended up selling it later on. But, it's crazy stuff like that you find out about and stuff like that. It's insane, man. There's a lot of history when it comes to submarines,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm lucky. I didn't have none of that, man. I didn't know nothing about a submarine until I went to my recruiter. And he was just throwing money at me, man. You get $500 extra bucks a month, all this extra money if you go submarines. And the only thing I knew about submarines was Red for Hunt October.
That's not a bad reference.
Yeah.
Well,
wait till you actually.
It's a good movie. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
To compare it to actual submarines, I'd say Mike, what would you say the best movie is? I'd say it's God, what was that comedy? That comedy movie.
Down Periscope.
Down Periscope, dude. That if you watch, I swear to God, it's the stupidest movie, but it's the most accurate movie out there.
Most accurate.
Let me add that to my notes real quick.
I swear to God, dude. Down Periscope. It's probably the most accurate, movie there is on submarines.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's talk about this. So you got through boot camp. Did you go to BESS first, which is sub school, or did you go to your A school first? Because I know for Mike and I were yeomen, we went through our A schools first before submarine school. But I hear that some people that are like rated specifically for submarines, they go through their to submarine school first. So what happened for you?
I went to BESS first over in Groton. And some submarine rates are in different parts of the country, but for the most part, all of the SECF, so radio men, nav div, FTs, STSs, they're all their A school is there as well. On top of that, there's the TMs and the machinist mates over there too. I think missile techs are the only ones that are separated as far as submarine design rates. And I think they go to either Washington or Georgia. I forget.
Yeah, they usually go to boomers, and that'd be Washington and Georgia. So we talked earlier, and you said you are currently over in San Diego, but you're not on a submarine yet. You're waiting for your submarine to come back from a tour. So what submarine are you going to? Is it Fast Attack, Boomer, GN, Seawolf?
Los Angeles class Fast Attack.
Got you. Okay, cool. That's awesome, man.
Is the wait for your boat to get here, and how's the anticipation, man? Are you excited? Are you nervous?
A good mix of both, I'd say. You know,
Good.
the excitement and the nervous aspect is kind of gets into like an adrenaline spike whenever I just think about it. Like, ah, crap, you know, I went through all that school just to wait more and go through more advanced schools. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. One of the cool things, well, I don't know if it's a cool thing or not, but it should kind of put at ease to your mind. A lot of the stuff you learned in BES and sub school, it really doesn't matter. You're only gonna learn about 90% of your job once you get onto the submarine and learn it from experienced guys.
yeah,
Um, they'll teach you your job. BES is kind of just like, hey, this is kind of like, hey, sort of the culture kind of thing. Once you get onto your submarine, like that's it. You know, you're
yeah.
onto it.
I kind of thought of it like kindergarten, man. They show you all the different colors and shapes and all this other stuff, and once you actually get to the ship and stuff is labeled and you got all those extra valves and shit that they didn't tell you
yeah,
about in sub school. So it's like, no, it's gonna be overwhelming as hell. But when you're in the qualification period, don't get too overwhelmed. You're gonna have people that's gonna be in your corner and help you out, with certain things. Just ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You may get shit on couple times, but as long as you got your head on right and you actually qualifying right, you'll be cool, man.
Yeah, you're gonna have a mix of huggers and haters on the sub. You need both, believe it or not.
Yeah.
When I was qualified, I turned into a hugger. That's just that was just how I was, man.
Yeah.
Some people are more comfortable being haters. Some people are more comfortable being huggers. It is what it is. It's like good cop, bad cop kind of thing.
right.
And you need them both. They're there to push you to get qualified. And they want to see what you're made of. If you can't take a certain amount of pressure, do you really deserve to be on the submarine when some sort of casualty goes down, like a fire or flooding or something like that? Are you going to freak out and run away, or are you going to run towards the casualty? Something like that.
Yeah. So do you have like any type of like fears or expectations for being on the ship?
Um, I would say my biggest fear would have been like forgetting what I learned through sub school, but like you mentioned, some of that or most of it is kind of thrown out the window anyhow. I figured, as far as whenever I was taking my tests, and as soon as you turn in the test, it's like, man, what did I just write down? At that point, I kind of figured that hopefully I learned most of this, on the job, and it sounds like that's what it is. So that definitely cut out one of my biggest fears.
I could say this. So I remember in submarine school, we had to make drawings of certain things on the submarine, like ventilation and shit like that. When I was qualifying, you still needed to know these drawings, right? So that's something you might want to remember going into it, the drawings and stuff like that, valves and all kinds of shit like that. They probably still have that sort of testing and qualifications on submarines. So that's something you want to take away from BES. I think a lot of it, to be honest, is kind of like boot camp, where they're just kind of trying to form you into a certain person. I don't think it has anything to do with actual submarines. You will learn how to be a submariner on the submarine, right? A lot of people drop out of submarine. There's a big attrition rate. I think the only bigger attrition rate there is in the Navy is SEALs, for completely different reasons. They're very physical and it's extremely mental as well, but for different reasons. But for us, there's a lot of stuff we need to learn. You need to know every fucking valve on the submarine. You need to know every system on the submarine. For people like Mike and I, we didn't have to know it as well as other rates like A-gangers and stuff like that, but you still need to know it.
Right.
For the most part, people are watching you over the course of your qualification time to see if you can be depended on, especially when some sort of casualty happens, So, when you're a nub, they pressure you a lot of times. They treat you like shit a lot of times to see if you're going to break, if you're going to fucking, break down and go cry in a corner or something like that, or if you're going to be like square your back and move on with your day.
Yeah. And one of your best friends has been a nub, man. It's gonna be what we call underweight currency.
Ooh.
So make sure you have some beef jerky, some Monsters, Red Bull, candy, some dip, something like that, and pass that out. For certain people, don't work on everybody now, but pass it out, and you might get some signatures, you might not. But
yeah, man, it's that's some truth right there, bro. I'll tell you one story, right? So, so for me personally, so I didn't smoke or dip at the time, and I bought like a whole like 2 rolls, maybe a roll or 2 of dip, and a couple of cartons of Marlboro Reds. And like halfway to 3/4 of the way through the patrol, that's when you want to start revealing that you have that shit still, you know? Because that's when people start running out, right? And they get all fucking grumpy. They're at the end of the patrol. They're like, fuck this shit. I hate this shit. And I don't have my smokes or, kind of stuff like that. You got some Monsters put away or something, or Red Bulls, beef jerky. Beef jerky is a fucking huge one.
yeah.
You have that shit, and you go up to some A gang or something like, hey, can I have this? Can you go over this this thing with me so I can get a signature? And you hand him a fucking can of dip. He might just sign off 5 more fucking signatures for you because you're a good guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit happens.
So should make done, man.
Woo, boy.
What question you got for us, man?
Right. So here, let me pull up some of the questions I've got
Prepared.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned to me prior to this conversation, but where were you primary serving as far as like home ported or a shore duty if you had that? Where was your primary or your favorite place and why?
Okay, Mike, you go ahead first.
So I got the luxury of being stationed in Pearl Harbor.
Woo.
For my first duty station, man. I actually lucked out. I was in sub school, and I got caught underage drinking. And I was actually supposed to go to Guam, which being to Guam, I'm glad that I actually ended up getting stationed in Hawaii, man, because Guam is it's a rough environment as far as humidity and everything like that go. But Pearl Harbor was probably the best place. I was stationed with Evan in South Carolina for a bit. But I say for like camaraderie wise, I think South Carolina was probably one of my best places I was at, man.
Okay.
Yeah, for Sea Duty, my first and only station was in Washington, Bangor, Washington, over in the Silverdale area. I loved it there. So I grew up in Southern Florida, right? I was born in Connecticut, so I had that kind of like that fucking blood where I was like used to the cold already. But I grew up in Southern Florida. Don't get me wrong, I loved Florida, loved the thunderstorms, loved the rain and kind of shit like that. But the fucking humidity was the worst, bro. I couldn't stand it, And so yeah, when I went through sub school, we did our little dream sheets and stuff like that. And Boomer was just calling out for me. I know a lot of guys are just like, you got to go fucking fast tech because you hit the ports and you go to Thailand and all kinds of bullshit like that. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool and everything, but for one, I like the schedule, right? It's 3 months on, 3 months off ish. And 2, I either could go to Georgia, which was my second choice because it was close to home, but it was still pretty fucking humid, or I could go to Washington, which was the other corner of the fucking map, which it rained all the time, which I love the thunderstorms, like I said, but it was cold, right? So I was like, I kind of want to go to Washington. Sure enough, I got picked to Washington. So I actually loved where I went. I know that's really controversial and shit. I'm a fucking vampire. So, yeah, I had a good time there. I met some really good people there. But as far as which the best station was for me, I got to agree with Mike, man. South Carolina, Charleston. We met some really good people there. The leadership was, when we were there, was on point. We had some great parties.
Man.
Yeah, we had some fucking great parties, man. Met some really good people, man. It was really good in Charleston.
Now, was San Diego your first choice?
It was, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have anywhere, obviously close to home. So it
Yeah,
was
you
either
gotta get that.
of the map or that side of the map, and I said, "Fuck it," everybody's picking San Diego. I'll throw my name in the hat, and I was very fortunate to get picked to come here.
Now, did you want to go fast attack? I know, depending on the region you want to go, but did you always want to go fast attack, or did you flirt with the idea of being on a boomer? What kind of made that decision for you?
I didn't have much of that. I didn't have a preference really. I figured, we didn't necessarily get to choose what type we were going to. All we really got to choose or try to choose is where. So, hell with it. If I get put in Groton, if I stay there, there's the newer Virginia class fast attacks that come in and out of there. There's also boomers there. There might be a couple GNs. So I personally didn't care which one I went to. There's pros and cons to both. Um, as long as I got a good port, I was happy. So.
Yeah, man. If I was to do it again, man, I would choose GN. I would go GN, man. They got the good schedule, but they also hit ports.
Yeah.
They got the good life, man.
Now, hopefully, you get a better deployment that I've had, man. Because you're gonna be on the West Coast. You get this shit called Westpacks. I've seen Japan more than I should have seen in my whole fucking life, man. And that's bad. I've seen Japan 10 times. So hopefully, you get a decent Westpac to compare to the shit I got, man.
Yeah, so me being me and a dummy, I Googled, what ports does the pack fleet go to?
Yeah.
And they were like Japan, Guam, Japan,
Yep.
and I did read a little bit further down that one time my boat specifically got to go to Greece. So
Oh, nice.
fingers crossed we make it far around the globe enough to do that. We'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, man. What was it called, Mike? When you hit the equator, is it shellback, something like that?
Shellback, I believe it was Shellback. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never got to experience that though. I wish I could.
Never got to be a shellback. Never got to be a blue nose, man. That's something I really wanted to do, man. Either one of those two. Never got to be a blue nose either. Yeah, as a boomer guy, man, we got the good schedule, but we didn't get to see a fucking thing, man. We came out of Bangor and we sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and every now and again we'd go into Pearl Harbor to get supplies, and we'd go right back to the ocean, man. That was one of the things, man. It was one of the downfalls of being a boomer, but that was pretty much one of the only downfalls of being a boomer.
Right, yeah, that's got to be the only downfall, really.
Yeah.
Other than that, it sounds like a nice life, especially with all the boom. I'm gonna have to hot rack for sure.
Ooh, that's a good topic, Mike. Tell us about some hot racking, man.
Man, I don't know if you've seen a previous video when I did talk about hot racking, man, but I'm pretty sure you got the gist of how hot racking is, right? Three dudes, 2 bunks. So you a junior guy.
That sounds like a porn, bro.
3 dudes and 2 racks.
Yeah.
Oh, but that sounds horrible. But
yeah, that sounds disgusting.
That sounds horrible. But you I'm pretty sure that you got you've heard how it operates. The junior guys, normally you switch racks when you told to. So since you're going to be new, you're definitely going to be hot racking. You might be hot racking for like the first year and a half for you on there. Just make sure that the person you end up getting washes their ass.
Dirty motherfuckers, man. Yeah, that's actually a good thing to get into, man. You will have some dirty motherfuckers. It never fucking, dude, I swear to God, you will at least have one dirty motherfucker on the submarine. At least one, maybe 2, possibly 3. And on my ship, I know, Mike, you and I have talked about this a while ago. I think you were the same way. They got so bad where the dock on the ship had to watch them actually shower, like physically. He was in like the center part. There's 2 showers and there's that center part. Like he was staying in the center part, watching this guy, soap up his ass and shit like that because the dude refused to fucking clean himself. Like you will have people like that on. I don't understand it, bro. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but you will have people on there. So hopefully you hot racking, you won't have that kind of person, but it could happen.
That one guy.
Have you ever heard anything like that while you was in sub school? Any type of like instructors telling you any shit like that?
Yeah, definitely. I had my A school instructor was telling me the story of this one guy. He was on a boomer, and this one guy just refused to take a shower. And the crew, over time, over like a week or two, they started, eyeing him like, dude, take a fucking shower, right? He just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. So they ended up jumping him, and they stripped him and threw him into the shower and washed him for him. And after that, like y'all said, you have to get the doc to watch. He said that did happen afterwards. But
It's so like, dude, I don't understand how someone can let themselves be so disrespected like that. Like to have like grown men have to strip you down and throw you in the shower and make you wash it. Like how do you, dude? How do you live with yourself like that? I don't know, man. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. Thankfully, the people I bunked with, a few of my deployments or a lot of my deployments, I was actually bunked up with the SKs and the cooks. Usually they're clean. They're pretty clean.
Should be.
They should be. We had one cook that, we had to straighten out, but, and a lot of the times, it's funny because A-gangers are actually usually very clean people too, considering the nasty shit they have to do. I've seen more. I think the most I've seen for like people that didn't want to wash was sonarmen, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say anything wrong with sonarmen, but that was in my case,
Right.
in my experience, that was mostly sonarmen.
Yeah. I had a sonarman that was wearing my underwear one time, man.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, wearing my underwear. That's a hot rack with him. I had SpongeBob underwear, man.
Jesus.
Wearing my drawers. Just all willy-nilly, man. Yeah.
They were at least clean?
I didn't want them back. I don't care if they was clean or not. He was wearing them. You keep them, man. They're yours now.
That's one thing. That's a good point here. You want to get some clothing like socks, shoes, underwears that you can physically recognize, like on the dot, that are yours. So get some stupid shit like SpongeBob SquarePants fucking underwear, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like something that, no one else would have, kind of thing. That way, if your shit gets stolen, you'd be like, motherfucker, you owe me some fucking briefs or something, something like that,
Yeah. So I had one quick question lined up. I'm not sure if you can talk about this. I figured I'd ask.
Sure.
What would you say, in your opinion, the coolest shit you did while on a deployment or while on shore duty, if that may be the scenario?
All right. One of the coolest things, like just the top of my head, I'll probably think of something else later, but one of the coolest things we ever got to do was angles and dangles.
Yeah.
It was usually during halfway night. You'll know about halfway night soon enough. But usually during halfway night, you would do this thing called angles and dangles. Halfway night's a bunch of parties and shit like that. And angles and dangles has something to do with the two drivers of the submarine, helmsman, plainsman, and stern plainsman. And you have to try to achieve the biggest angle, right? There's different shifts and everything, and everyone's trying to get the biggest angle and stuff like that. Well, this one time, it wasn't my shift, but my buddy Garcia was on the helm. I forget who was on the stern plainsman, but they hit the biggest angle, and I forget what it was. It was like 30 something degrees angle, which doesn't sound a lot, but it was fucking, yeah, it's a lot. So anyways, A-Gang had this printer that was like, it wasn't strapped down, but it was on this like metal thing where like, it wouldn't fall. But with this angle, it fell. We were going to down angle, and it flipped off, and it flipped off, and it slid down through machinery all the way down the missile tubes, right? It was like banging off the missile tubes. Paper is flying everywhere. We're all just kind of watching it and like, going back into the missile tubes when it came by us, because they're like fucking pieces of plastic blasting everywhere and shit like that. And it crashed at the end of the fucking missile tubes, and it just fucking burst everywhere with paper and stuff like that. Dude, it's memories like that just, you remember and stuff like that, man.
Yeah,
Um,
we used to play war games, kind of like just I forgot what the name was called, but it was like us with most surface like our ships, and then some other countries, and we would just kind of play just like I said war games. We would try not to get detected by the boats and everything like that. They had like P3s that was flying around that would try to like spot us.
the
We
P3
got
Orions, yeah.
Yeah, if we got
Hmm.
pinged, we'll come up, and if we got pinged, we hurry up and drop down, and it was actually pretty cool. That was like probably like a 2 week long thing, and then afterwards, you do this photo X where you all kind of line up together, nice little like pyramid type deal, and normally the submarine or whoever, normally the submarine will lead the way, but it's supposed to be whatever ship goes, but whatever ship wins the battle leads the battle, leads the little formation. But most of the time, it's been us that wins that shit. So
Next
we always in the front.
episode, Mike and Mike Dunn. It's been a pleasure talking to you too. We'll hit you guys next time.
Yeah, man.
All right.
The devil's gonna come when the sun goes down. The devil's gonna come when the sun